Thank you for joining us today with today's webinar on how to write design and development inputs. We're very excited for today's speaker, Peter, and I'll give you a proper introduction to him here in a few minutes, but I want to cover a few housekeeping things about the webinar platform. First off, my name is Tom Risch. I'm the head of vertical marketing for the medical device and life sciences group at Jama Software. And for those of you that are new to On24, there are some different things you can interact with here. At the top of your screen, you'll see all of those engagement tools. All of them can be resized. They're movable, so you can move things around to get the most out of your desktop and put things where you want it. You can also expand the presentation area or maximize it to a full screen by clicking the arrows in the top right corner. If you have any audio or video issues, there are answers to some common technical issues located in the help widget up at the top of your screen. Also up there, you'll find some helpful resources. There are some links there to Peter's LinkedIn and some other website and YouTube video, and those are very helpful for you as a follow-up there. So take a look for those resources. The webinar will be recorded. It will be sent to you via email. So we're thankful for all of you that are here live throughout the world, and you'll get the recap afterwards. And lastly, we want this to be very interactive. If you have questions during the presentation, please submit them through the Q&A widget. We'll answer live. We'll do our best to get as many as we can, and we're excited to interact with all of you during this presentation. And so now for the main event, I'm very excited to introduce our speaker, Peter Sebelius. Peter is one of those rare people who can take something very complex like medical device regulations, product development, and make it understandable. He's a highly respected trainer, consultant, and entrepreneur in the medical device industry. And one of the most exciting things for all of us here is he's a member of the joint working group that authored the latest versions of ISO 13485 and ISO 14971 standards. So you don't get very many chances to interact with somebody who has that much influence on the regulations. One of the things I love most about Peter is he's known for his clear, no-nonsense explanations, very practical teaching style. I think, one of my favorite things is to find a post on LinkedIn that I sometimes think, I don't know if I fully agree with that. And usually if I go to the comments section, I see Peter there correcting it. And I always enjoy reading those. He speaks for what's true, and that's great in this industry. His focus areas are design controls, requirements engineering, risk management. I've actually had a chance to take one of Peter's courses myself in the past. It was the risk management course. And I'm very grateful for that. I was about 10 years into my career, actually. I wish I would have taken it earlier. Many of you in this industry, if you're like me, had a bunch of binders plopped on your desk on your first day and said, read through these regulations. And unfortunately, that doesn't really teach you enough about what you need to do things right. That risk management course was amazing. And I learned a lot about how to do it the right way. If I was leading a new medical device project right now or had a team of people, whether young or old, I highly recommend taking some of Peter's courses. And on that, his courses, Peter is the founder of Medical Device HQ, which is this company that we'll hear more about on the next slide. And Peter has a great team behind all of the training courses that they deliver. What makes them stand out specifically is they're created by ISO and IEC standards committee members. So very impressive, important people providing practical application. Not just the theory behind it, which I think so many of us get exposed to, but the actually how to do it. They offer fantastic resources in the form of articles and YouTube videos. Check out their YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, it's just Medical Device HQ. Their training cover a lot of topics ranging from design controls, requirements engineering, risk management, usability. I know I've seen the ISO 13485 on quality systems as well. So there's a training for about everything. You can do it online. You can do it in blending formats with live classroom sessions or even through your company's LMS. We'll include a link to all of those courses and their website in a follow-up email after this webinar. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Peter. And thank you for being here, Peter. We're excited to learn more from you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Tom. It was a pleasure. So let's get to it. In this session, I will be showing you how to write unambiguous design and development inputs and meet ISO 13485 requirements. So one of my first questions to you is really, are requirements important? Well, yes, they are. Now, studies have shown that the root cause of a lot of non-conformity and quality problem would be poor requirements. Now, one thing about the medical device industry that makes me really sad is that many medical device organizations, they work with requirements, not because they see the value in it, but because they have to. And this, I would say, is a general problem in our industry. Too many organizations do what's required without knowing why and without seeing the value. It's compliance above quality, which I think is a very sad or odd way of looking at things. So I hope that after this webinar, you will believe in the value of writing good requirements. But if you don't, and you're entirely focused on compliance, should you then be paying attention? Well, yes, you should, because if you take a look at subclause 733 in the ISO 13485 on design and development inputs, you can see that your design and development inputs or requirements shall be complete, unambiguous, able to be verified or validated, and not in conflict with each other. Now, if you don't know what these things mean, trust me when I say not many do, you are at risk of getting non-conformities. Now, luckily, for those who don't know the meaning of these characteristics, not many auditors do either. Only in some cases are auditors likely to react if your requirements don't fulfill these characteristics. And that is one of the reasons why I created a pretty unique course on requirements engineering for medical devices on Medical Device H2, because I've seen that there are very few who knows this area in the medical device industry. So what you will be seeing today are some highlights from this course. If you're interested in learning more, you are obviously very, very welcome to register on the full course, which is much more comprehensive than what we're looking at today. So during my training courses, I often ask how many of the participants have participated in risk management. And then I ask how many of you have formal training on risk management. And usually about 90% would say that they are involved in risk management and that they have some kind of training. And then I continue to ask how many of you have been involved in writing requirements. And it's almost as many as in risk management. Then when I ask how many have formal training in requirements engineering, and when I say training, I don't mean read and understood. That doesn't count. Like Tom's reference, read all the binders. That doesn't count as training if you ask me. Now, what do you think happens when I ask about that? Well, it becomes very silent. It's less than 5% who says that they have some kind of training on writing requirements. And that's really unfortunate, because writing requirements is a critical task if you want to be successful with product development of medical devices. It's the foundation. But not only that, if you don't know what you're doing in this area, it also creates lots of frustration and conflicts between the team members. And then you're wasting time. And I really dislike wasting time. I think we should be bringing medical devices to market as quickly and as efficiently as we can, because every new medical device should be an improvement compared to the previous ones, which means if we are wasting time, we're depriving the public of better healthcare. And that's unethical, believe it or not. Now, this task of writing requirements requires both knowledge and skill to be done correctly and successfully. Now, before getting to how to write good requirements, let me talk about two more pain points in the area of requirements engineering in the medical device industry. And let me know if you agree and you recognize any of these issues in the chat. Like Tom said, we appreciate if this is interactive. So if you say yes, or you've seen exactly this, do share it in the comments. That just makes everything nicer and more interactive. So the first pain point is that requirements end up in the wrong processes. It could be that you find design outputs together with the design inputs, or you find risk controls that are documented as user needs. There are so many mix-ups. And when you try to push the various types of requirements through the wrong processes, it's utterly confusing. It could even result in non-conformities, and it will not work well. And I will come back to why. Now, the second pain point is that requirements are written with poor quality. They do not at all meet the requirements of ISO 13485, and ISO 13485 does say that the design and development inputs should, for example, be complete and unambiguous. So that was a little bit of a backdrop, these two pain points for this webinar or training session. I'm going to now shift from the problems to solutions to these issues. And I will start with number one, with the solution to requirements ending up in the wrong processes. So to fully comprehend the challenges in categorizing requirements correctly, one needs to understand how many different types of requirements exist for a new medical device product development project. It's not only user needs and design inputs. Let me be clear on that. So let me paint the picture for you. Now here you can see a little part of the complexity of the many types of requirements that apply to a project and a product, and the challenges that come as a result of that. Now, on the left-hand side, you will find the norms and standards that provides the requirements, and then I've divided them into categories, and I provided examples of the requirements, and on the very right-hand side, you can see the typical documents where these requirements should be documented. Or, as in the case of Jama, it would be a database. But in this presentation, I'm going to use mostly documents, as that is the lowest level, you could say, or the smallest common denominator. But it can easily be translated to a database, obviously. Now, let me point out an important part of this overview, which is about capturing requirements from regulations and standards. I think every organization or project should conduct a search for applicable norms and standards and document the results. I call the output from that search standards and norms list. You may have other names for the same thing. And the next step is the standard review report that identifies which requirements of the standards that apply to the product at hand. Now, don't document one standard as one design input requirement. The standards are on a too high level.